West Ham United 1, Manchester United 0. Before we even start talking about top 4 or about consistently competing for titles, we have to fix these glaringly obvious and visceral issues at Manchester United. Let's analyze. Okay, so even though this is not the actual focus of this part of the video, it is still very important for me to talk to you about how West Ham were set up by David Moyes, because it helps us understand what are the things that we should have done and what are the things that we should have avoided, because that is of course going to be relevant for what I'm going to talk about in the rest of the video. So of course, David Moyes, in typical David Moyes fashion, he really loves his compact shapes, was set up in a 4-3-3 position, kind of formation. Sometimes it would turn into a 4-4-2 formation with Paqueta coming next to Antonio, with Bowen and of course Benrahma coming in deep, tucking in into a 4-4-2 position. And of course, as I've talked about in my previous Aston Villa video, line of engagement, defensive line. David Moyes, unlike Unai Emery, doesn't care about a high engagement line. He does not require that his forwards press intensely and aggressively. And of course, he also likes a deep defensive line. This, of course, suits his two center backs, Naif Haggard, my countrymate from Morocco, as well as Angelo Ogbonna, the Italian center back. Both of them are actually very good in the air, very good at sweeping balls over here. And because the defensive line is very deep, it's very hard for the opposition to exploit these spaces in behind the defensive line with long balls. If it goes beyond Haggard or Ogbonna, Fabianski, it's very easy for him to go in and collect the ball. Now, in these kind of situations, what you want is that you want to actually, your midfielders, you know, the likes of Christian Eriksen and Casemiro, as well as Bruno Fernandes, you want them to drop into these positions, collect the ball, with of course the attacking forwards moving into these spaces, making runs, trying to create spaces, Rashford, Weghorst as well. And then of course you want Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Tyrell Malacia to be quite aggressive as fullbacks. You don't really care about them tucking inside because you have your Eriksens and Casemiros and potentially even Bruno coming in deep to have the ball at their feet and then have the game in front of them, because then they can use their creativity and their skill to create chances. What you don't want, however, is to actually play long balls towards Marcus Rashford. That worked against a team like Aston Villa because they had a high defensive line, but against a team like West Ham, it would not work. And that's exactly what we did, and that's one of the reasons why we have failed. However, the main reason why we have failed, and this is a key statistic I don't think I've ever said on this channel, but I am a business major. And as a business major, I see the world, I see the universe around me in ratios and margins and percentages. And so after this game, because I could notice during the game that we were really lousy every time we had the ball. And so I wanted to look at a key statistic, which is our final third touches and how we are able to convert them into penalty box touches. So let me explain. So football pitch is usually divided into three areas. So this is what we call the defensive third, this is the mid third, and this is the final third. And of course, this right here is of course the penalty box. So basically the key ratio or percentage that I wanted to look at is every time a Manchester United player touches the ball in the final third, how likely are we as a team to convert that final third touch into a penalty area touch? That means resulting in one of our players touching the ball here in the penalty area. Because the more you can do that, the more you can maximize the amount of penalty box touches. Of course, those are high quality chances. The players are much closer to the opposition goal. Therefore, they are much more likely to score. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when I calculated those percentages, I was shocked. Manchester United's conversion rate from final third touches to penalty box touches stands at 14%. That's around a ratio of 7-1. That means every 7 final third touches usually result in 1 penalty box touch. Now, compared to West Ham, we were abysmal because West Ham themselves, they're not actually the best attacking team in the league. And yet they had a conversion rate of 23%. That's about a ratio of 4-1. That means for every 4 touches where they touch the ball, that means a player like Bowen, for example, or Paqueta, for example, touching the ball in our final third, for every 4 of those touches, they are able to create a penalty box opportunity, a penalty box touch against us, okay? So we are not actually very good through our patterns of play, through our attacking patterns. We are not good at converting final third touches into actual penalty box touches that allow our strikers to score. So we have actually a double-edged problem at Manchester United. Not only do our strikers fail to convert opportunities and chances, we are not as clinical and as ruthless as we should be, but also we are not able on a consistent basis to convert our final third touches into penalty box touches. And unless this change, we can never ever be considered a top team. Okay, so now let's talk about the elephant in the room sequence, the David De Gea mistake that has led to West Ham leading 1-0 at around the 26th minute. Now, before I talk about David De Gea, I was mad, I was livid at the whole team in this sequence, and I knew something was coming. In fact, at this time, I was not actually sitting on my sofa, I was pacing around, standing up and pacing around at 3 a.m. in the morning while everyone around me was sleeping because I was so mad at what I was seeing. This goes against everything that Manchester United should have been doing in this situation. So let's see. Build-up play with David De Gea, Luke Shaw. As you can see here, Luke Shaw in the build-up play. Look at how much time he has on the ball. Look, he's strolling around. He's in a park. He's walking his chihuahua. Look at that. Look at how much time he has. And of course, as you can see, West Ham with their players over here, Declan Rice, Bowen and Antonio, they're in no rush to press us. They're not being aggressive at all. They're giving us all the time on the ball because that's the plan. Low engagement line, deep defensive line. That's how David Moyes was setting them up. The other player I was mad at is Casemiro. What happened to this guy? Did he get replaced or something? I mean, this is not the Casemiro we've been used to for the past few months. This is, a clone of Casemiro, and a bad clone at that, because he's supposed to be moving around, trying to find spaces in order for him to collect the ball, but he's just being static all the time. Look at all of this space. Lindelof, Luke Shaw, David De Gea, so much space, and yet you're expecting Casemiro, Christian Eriksen or Bruno Fernandes, at least one of them, to come deep and pick up the ball in order for them to have the game in front of them. Pass the ball around Antonio and then around Bowen and Declan Rice, and then you can have a clear way into the goal. Nobody's coming in to pick up the ball. Nobody. Look, empty space. Nobody's coming in. It just doesn't make sense, and it goes against every single thing that you should not do against a system like David Moyes' system here at West Ham, which is exactly what Luke Shaw is going to do. Look, going long. Come on, long to whom? To Marcus Rashford. This plays into their strength. Naif Agger, this guy is a monster in the air. A monster in the air. He had 5 headers, he won them all, right? You can't expect Marcus Rashford to win this. Winning the ball, and then now a series of Manchester United mistakes before the David De Gea mistake are gonna happen. First, Tyrell Malacia on Bowen. Completely soft. Then, Casemiro over here has the opportunity to stop it. No, he doesn't. Then, Luke Shaw over here also has the opportunity to do something about it. It doesn't happen. 3 Manchester United players in the space of 2 seconds. Malacia, Casemiro, and Luke Shaw had the opportunity to just tackle, block, clear. None of them did anything. Now Benrahma is having a clear run at the goalkeeper. This shot right here by Benrahma was a 0.03 expected goal. That's a 3% chance that he would score from here. 3%. And that went in. That went in because Mr. World-Class shot stopper over here made another blunder. So many blunders by David De Gea, not only this season, but since he's signed for us. And that was not the only one. Because during this game, 2 errors were statistically recorded. And both errors, among all of the West Ham and the Manchester United players, belonged to David De Gea. That shot stop was the first error. And then the second error was this, whatever this is supposed to be. David De Gea and Luke Shaw with Lindelof again in the build-up. Look, David De Gea gets the ball, and then look at this. What is that? What's that? Who is this pass for? Oh, let me guess. It's Harry Maguire's fault again. Harry Maguire's mistake again. What kind of pass is this? This is so poor. So poor. Who is this ball for? And he's lucky that this didn't lead to another goal because it was close. It was going to lead to another goal. And so I've said what I had to say about David De Gea in my David De Gea video. Go and check it out. Whatever I said in that video is still relevant today. When you look at his statistics, this guy is average. David De Gea is average. Look at his statistic. Shot stopping, save percentages, his outside of the penalty area actions. How often does he come out to claim crosses? None of that stacks up. He's not an elite goalkeeper. And I'm not even talking about his ball playing ability. He is average when it comes to shot stopping, and he's abysmal when it comes to playing with his feet. Now, I know that Erik Ten Hag has said in the post-match press conference that he would like to keep David De Gea, but I would not read too much into this, because he said the same thing about Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, how we'd love to work with him because he brings goals, but we knew that he did not really fancy that. Cristiano Ronaldo was a misfit in Erik Ten Hag's system. And it's the same thing with David De Gea. He's not going to roast one of his key players right now in the business end of the season. So, and I'm sure that he has 10 times the amount of data and information that I have to make an informed decision. And I am sure that the best decision for the club and for David De Gea, ironically, is for him to leave this summer. We are not kicking him out. His contract expires. It's a graceful way of ending our, union, right? Real Madrid sold Cristiano Ronaldo to Juventus. Angel Di Maria left Paris Saint-Germain after his contract expires and went to Juve. Firmino now is leaving Liverpool. Eras come to an end. It just happens. Didn't Evra also leave and go to Juventus? Sometimes you have to bring in new blood and you have to move forward. Now, if we get the Qatari bid, which is likely, get in a 20 to 30 million pound young goalkeeper that brings all of the skill sets that we want in a goalkeeper that fits 100% like a glove into Erik Ten Hag's system, and never look back again. Thank you, David De Gea, for your service over these seasons, but it's not working out anymore. We have to move forward, and David De Gea himself, he also has to move forward and go somewhere else where, his skill sets would be valued. But that's not Old Trafford. Okay, so in this segment, we are gonna talk about how much these Manchester United players really lack fire in their belly. This graph right here actually shows the expected goals of both West Ham United and Manchester United, West Ham in blue and Manchester United in yellow. Now, as you can see, as the game, in the beginning of the game, of course, we start incrementally to get a hold. We started actually pretty well. We've created some really good chances, but then we stagnated a little bit, and then West Ham got the goal. West Ham, who were pretty much non-existent in terms of expected goals and in terms of chances created. But then as soon as they scored the goal, that point to me, that's the tipping point. The tipping point that shows the difference between Manchester United's mindset and that of a team like West Ham. For West Ham, it was a matter of, we smell blood. We are hammerhead sharks. This Manchester United team is weak. They are 1-0 down. We can actually go ahead and score more goals. This is why you see this graph line, the West Ham expected goal line, is actually increasing, while the Manchester United line just stagnates. That means that Manchester United players have just downed their tool the moment they were 1-0 down to West Ham United. And as you can see, we haven't picked up until around the 88th minute. While West Ham completely dominated us, by the 60th minute, they were so far apart in terms of chances created compared to where we were. And I'm gonna say this, great teams, the Manchester United under Alex Ferguson, or even currently, Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp. They were a joke just 4 weeks ago. And now they are back in with a realistic shout for top four, for a top 4 finish. Why? Because great teams thrive in adversity. It's the JFK quote all over again. We don't do things because they're hard. Sorry, I messed that up. That's how angry I am. We don't do things because they are easy. We do them because they are hard. And if I were Erik Ten Hag, I would screenshot and print this graph right here and put it all over Carrington, just to show it to the Manchester United players as an illustration of how spineless and weak they are. How can they allow this to happen? If you are 1-0 down, a top team turns a 1-0 down disadvantage into a 3-1, 4-1, or 5-1 victory. That's what top teams do. And we have the talent to do that. We have the players to do that. But we don't have the desire to do that. And this graph shows exactly that. If I were a Manchester United player, I would be ashamed at this graph right here. Now what? Well, the silver lining, the good thing about all of this is that not only is top 4 still mathematically possible for us, it's also within our hands. We are in control. Liverpool, if they win their 3 remaining games, they will finish the season with 71 points. That means that for us to qualify to the Champions League next season, all we need is 9 points out of 12. Now, the good thing about that also is that 3 of those 4 games are going to be at home, where our form is much better than our away form. With Garnacho back, probably we're going to get that spark on the wings, that just spark that we need to propel ourselves, up the table and to actually get that top four finish. But I'm just mad because we just bottled it. I mean, we were in a very comfortable situation. That last minute penalty goal against Brighton and the David De Gea howler against West Ham have really cost us. Had we had 2 points from those two games, we would be now in a much more comfortable situation. But these Manchester United players really, really, really have to show their worth, and they have to fight to get this top four, because if we finish outside the top four, it's going to have a destructive effect on our transfer plans this summer, and this summer we cannot miss it. This is our chance to get back to the very top. This is our chance to assert our dominance as one of the best teams in England. We cannot afford another season of Europa League football. I definitely can't afford it, analyzing Thursday night games, which means that the team has to play on Sunday nights, which means I have to analyze them on Mondays. I can't do that, guys. I can't do that. I need Tuesday and Wednesday football. I need Saturday football. Get on it! Cheers.